Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome into the show tonight. I'm your host, Jessica Jones. I'm the Cryptid Huntress. And man, do we have a cool show for you guys tonight. And we're going to definitely be going down another rabbit hole or two or three tonight on this show. I have remote viewed 2 targets for you guys tonight. We're going to have a double header, okay? And it's going to be fantastic. So we're not only talking about Dogman, a real Dogman sighting, and this one is actually, we've got some evidence of it. We have some pictures, there's a video. We're going to be talking about the Fort Pierce Dogman down in Florida, and it's on that Atlantic coast, where it's going to bridge us into the other target for tonight. That is that unidentified, weird, maybe a glitch in the matrix, but some kind of underwater behemoth of a blip on the radar, okay? Something that it seemed to come out of Antarctica this past week. I think it was the day after the solar eclipse. And I have remote viewed that as well. We may have some answers. We may just have more questions after this show is over tonight. So man, thank y'all so much for being here. And thank you to all my moderators, to all my Patreon members. By the way, if you would like to follow along with the remote viewing data tonight, you can join my Patreon. That is the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. And also, if you'd like to keep up with me, not like, I don't know if anybody can keep up with me, man. I swear, I just got home from a soccer game. I literally just slid into home plate just now, right as the show was starting. So I shout out to all the moms out there. I feel y'all. Okay. So yeah, I'm a very busy lady right now, a very busy mom, but you guys go to the cryptidhuntress.com for all of your Cryptid Huntress needs. Okay. For all of my shows are there, all the events I'm going to be speaking at, where you guys come hang out with me in person. You're going to find it right there on my website. Also, this is the Patreon. If you guys are interested in joining and becoming a member, you can become a free member there. And I do put up content for the free members, as well as the paying members actually get access to all of that data. Okay. And also, man, you guys will get some free merch that says the Cryptid Huntress on it if you make a purchase out of my shop. That's War Woman Goods on Etsy. So I hope you guys will check that out. And thank you guys so much for all your support. Okay. All right. Well, let's get into this show tonight, because man, I love talking about Dogman. It's one of my favorite topics. And this is a very interesting case that we're going to be talking about tonight. And before I bring Barry up, I'm going to give an overview of both of the subjects that we will be covering tonight. In the late night of June 9th, 2020, a Facebook user named Shy Unique Legacy, I think his name's Blue, was live streaming around 1 a.m. That was, like I said, it was on Facebook Live. He was explaining his encounter with a werewolf or a dogman-like creature. During the live stream, a tall bipedal creature runs across the video in his backyard, which prompts the user to shut his door in fear. Cryptid researchers and enthusiasts, including myself now, claim that this could be some of the best video evidence, Now, this is not the only evidence that he has, actually. So it's good. It's a great video. We don't know for sure this is a Dogman yet. You guys are going to hear my data for this. But he does have a picture that looks like a Dogman too. And I'm going to show you guys that tonight as well. And that picture is some of the best evidence of a Dogman, in my opinion. Okay, so that's target number 1. Target number 2. A wave anomaly captured by a weather mapping system sparked a global mystery just last week. showing a giant cluster of waves over 80 feet high and spanning 2,000 miles in an area larger than Texas, and appearing to move from Antarctica through the ocean off the coast of Africa and all the way up here to the United States and between the US and Europe. On April 10th, in a journey that lasted, I think it started on April 8th, actually, but it lasted about 24 hours until it vanished. It's popped back up. Some believe the radar anomaly was created by something moving under the surface of the sea, making it an unidentified submersible object, a USO. So what exactly is the unidentified anomaly in the ocean? Was it a glitch, a craft, or something else? And was the creature caught on Facebook Live in Fort Pierce, Florida, an actual Dogman? I know these are two like total opposite things. It's a lot to cover in one show, but y'all, we're here for it. We're going to do it. And we're going to have a whole lot of fun doing it tonight because I have my friend Barry Littleton here. And y'all know Barry rocks it out. He's one of the leading researchers, in my opinion, cutting edge researchers in the paranormal fields, the paranormal, spiritual, UFOs, cryptids, and all that. And that's why I love bringing him along to help me brainstorm and embark his knowledge on all of us. So please help me welcome to the show my friend Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Greetings. Hey, Jessica. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here again. Interesting weather. Cold, hot, cold. Man.
Oh, it's raining over here. I just started sweating because it got really humid and it's hot. And I just, like I said, I just slid into home plate from a soccer game over here outside. So I've been in the elements this evening and or today. But hey, we're here. Don't ask me that. No, they didn't win tonight. But hey, my son kicked butt and took names tonight, so I was happy with it. Yeah, cool. They're still learning. They're just kids, you know. But yeah, I did a little yelling. I was like, spread out, you know, it's typical stuff.
Oh gosh, I hope you're not like my brother. He used to be really, really vocal during those games for his kids, man. Enough to where we go sit. We sit on the high rise. He's down there, you know.
Oh man. Well, you know, I actually said like it's such a cool thing because it's just, you know, we're all parents. We've all got we're just proud of our kids, and I could tell that even the opposing team too. You know, it's just it's recreational teams, and we're just all out there having fun. So we don't take sides. We're just out there cheering all the kids on. So that's how I am, and that's how I am in real life, and that's how I am here. I want everybody to win. Okay, I do. So and not get hurt. So that's what we're doing. But yeah. Oh man, Barry, this is a really cool night because you and I are going to be discussing two separate subjects tonight that really don't have a whole lot to do with each other. Okay, they're very different, but they're very intriguing, both of them. Are you familiar with either of these targets that we're going to be talking about tonight?
I am a little bit now. I am. Now, I'd seen the gentleman with the Dogman running through his backyard. I've seen that several times. And so that's interesting, you know. And then the other one was this new thing that comes up that I think we'll discuss. I don't want to seem like the skeptical guy, but I I have a few questions, you know, a few reservations about that second one, especially. But who knows? You know, I'm interested to see what your data shows. So.
Okay, so you're more skeptical about the one that is the ocean anomaly, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Especially when you start looking at the you know, a lot were saying that it was a glitch in the software or in the equipment.
There could be.
And the fact that there's been no impact, like no injuries, nothing. It's just some people saying they've seen it online. I mean, with that equipment. So it could be. Well, I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just asking. I'm not saying it is. I'm just asking.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. Because actually, there have been effects of it, and I'm going to show some pictures. And let me tell you where my sources came from. You'll never guess. TikTok.
That must be reliable.
Okay, it's so reliable. It is. That's where we get all of our. Hey, it's more reliable than CNN. I'm just saying. Okay. Okay, but anyways, I digress. Okay, so hey, by the way, I do. This is me. I'm in the chat. Okay, and I do have a link to the video. Okay, this is metabunk.org. Okay, that they actually have some of the best information on this Dogman of Fort Pierce, Florida, because they have the full video. It's like 30 something minutes long, and then they have a breakdown of it, and they also have the slow motion videos. So if you guys are wanting to like see it while we're talking tonight, you guys open up a second window, please, so y'all can keep listening to us. Okay, but go check this out. It's in the chat if you're in the live chat tonight. Otherwise, I will be sure to put this in the description box if you're listening in the future. And yeah, not funny. TikTok. Yes, TikTok is a source for entertainment for sure. Okay, we're just gonna leave it at that. But yeah, well, I do have an interesting point on that too, because when you go to search for this anomaly, there's like one article that I could find online, and maybe I just didn't know, I wasn't typing in the right stuff. But when I typed in a search engine, the only article that came up about this anomaly in the ocean that I could find was with MSN.com. Other than you go to TikTok and there's like hundreds of things on it. Okay, so we'll get into it. I want to first talk about the Dogman of Fort Pierce, Florida tonight. This is a very interesting case. I personally had never heard of it, and someone in the chat, and I want to say it was Adolf. Was it you? I don't know. It might have been Adolf. There was somebody in the chat one night that asked me or told me about the Dogman at Fort Pierce, Florida. I can't remember who it is, but somebody did mention it, and that's how the first time I ever heard about it. Of course, you know, I looked it up. I did some pretty deep diving on this today. Okay, it was like today, and I comparing my research today to the data that I got, because I remote viewed this a while back. Okay, so this is something that was remote viewed. Let me tell you the date. February. Okay, so this happened about 3 or 4 years ago, but I remote viewed it at the beginning of this year, and we're just talking about it tonight. Okay, and yeah, I started doing my research on this over the past couple of days when I decided what the show was going to be on tonight, and just before I went live, y'all know Barry, you know how busy I am, because I was changing my clothes and stuff. I put on a video, and I was looking for an update. Okay, because I've done the research on what this is. I was looking for an update, and it blew my mind, because with this update, I think it was Dark Waters had interviewed him, and I don't know him. I don't know Dark Waters personally. I've never met him, but he has some good content. Okay, and I was listening to an update he had done with this guy. He interviewed him. His name's Blue, I believe, and he had mentioned several key points that are actually in my data. Okay, because when you hear about this, you think about this being a Dogman. It's a Dogman. Okay, but see, in my data, it's talking about something other than just a Dogman. It's not even talking about a Dogman. Okay, and in the actual target, Barry, was not the picture. Okay, and I want to show the audience this. This is a picture that this guy had taken. I do believe, and it is a really clear picture of what I believe to be a Dogman. Okay, now I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide, but I believe this is the picture he took, and it kind of looks Dogmanish right there in the middle. Okay, and there's a whole lot of activity that had been going on around his backyard, basically down there. Now we're going to get in the data, and yeah, go ahead, Barry.
This is the question. I mean, is it just me, or does it look like kind of? I mean, I'm not really seeing the neck, but it looks like the trees are going through the head, like the trees are almost piercing the head from the bottom and the top. It just kind of looks like that to me. I don't know.
It kind of does. I don't know. You know, I see a lot of pictures that involve pareidolia and all that jazz. I mean, it looks pretty cool. If nothing else, it's a cool picture. You know, it looks more like a Dogman than a lot of pictures of Dogman I've seen. Okay, so it's interesting nonetheless. Okay, so the guy was actually on a live stream. He was by the way, this has become known as, and I'm not sure if he called it this or who, but he started calling it daddy long leg footage, because let me give the audience an idea of what was actually going on when this guy actually got a video of this supposed alleged dogman in his backyard. And for people who are just tuning in, you can find the link in the chat tonight. If you scroll up, I did put the link there for you to watch it. Okay, so like I said, he was live streaming around 1 a.m. On June 9th of 2020. And he was talking about the pictures he had taken. He was talking about the things that he had. Here, I'll show the picture again. He was talking about the experiences that he had been having. Now, there had been reports of Bigfoot in the area. Okay, so they have Bigfoot activity. And down there in South Florida, it's like mid to South Florida, they have skunk apes down there. It's just big Sasquatches. And but they're, it's hot down there and they're in the swamps. Okay, so they got long stringy hair. They're not super girthy or thick. They're more like lanky. Okay, when it comes to the skunk apes, they're not like, they're usually not gigantic, and I think it's because of the environment. Okay, but they've been having reports of like Bigfoot. He had his own encounters with something, and here he has this picture. This could potentially be a dogman, or maybe it's a Bigfoot. Some people think this could be a Bigfoot right here. I didn't remote view this picture. This is not what I was looking at. I actually, the target was that video, like what happened at that moment, those coordinates of where that happened at that moment. Okay, so that's what the target is tonight, is the video.
And this is supposedly the same location, though, right? This here.
Yes, it's the same. It's supposed to be. Yes. It says they removed the video. Okay, there's a video. All you got to do is go type in Fort Pierce, Florida dogman. Okay, and there's videos all over the place. And you can't find it on a search engine, go to TikTok. Okay, TikTok's the source. So, okay. So whatever this creature is, okay, in this video, let me tell you how I got the video. So the guy is sitting there talking, telling about what happened. This is a picture of him right here. Listen, if this guy is blue, I think, if you're watching this, hit me up. I would love to talk to you in an interview. Okay. I'm sorry I didn't reach out. This is kind of all last minute. But he's sitting there talking. He's freaking out. He's talking about, man, there's some weird crap going on in the neighborhood. I don't know really what's happening. I saw something weird. Like he's smoking cigarettes. Like you could tell he's nervous, right? He's nervous. And he's on Facebook Live and he's like, look, I'm not just going to tell you, I'm going to show you. Okay. Brown Dwarf said he's on Facebook. Okay, I'll hit him up on Facebook sometime.
Is that vendetta gang affiliated? It looks like it to me. I'm just joshing, man. Go ahead, keep going.
No. Okay, so he's sitting there, he's talking, he's like, okay, what is going on? I don't know. I'm nervous. Y'all just don't understand. There's something, and I'm not showing the video. Okay, I'm just going to give you the Cliff's Notes version tonight. But he's sitting there stressed out, and he's like, I'm just gonna show you. He's like, I'm just gonna open up this back door, and I'm gonna let you see what I see. We're gonna put the camera out there, and so here I'm gonna give you a play-by-play. Okay, so I got some pictures instead of the video. I got pictures, and so he opens up his back door. And it faces like I want to say like a swamp or the woods right there. Okay, it's like the woods. And as he opens the door, within 10 seconds of him opening up this door, something runs through the tree line. And now it's hard to see. This is a screenshot that I took. And it's hard to tell what the heck this is, but something runs. And it, to me, honestly, Barry, when I sent you a message earlier, I said, Barry, is this an ostrich? Because it's got long legs, and it literally, to me, it looks like an ostrich or something, but it looks like, okay, so I can tell you from experience, when you see a cryptid, they look unnatural. Okay, I talked about this with Mark Maychek, who was on the show on Saturday night. They look unnatural to him. And he's in the chat. Hey, Mark, Cryptiville. He said that when he saw his dogman, the dogman with the paint on its face, it looked like a cartoon. Okay, so it looked cartoonish. Well, this, when you look at this, when you're watching the video, it looks cartoonish. Okay. I have seen cryptids face to face in person. It absolutely does not look natural, especially when they move. I can say that firsthand. And so, but there's something there. Okay. There's something there. Now, it appears to be tall, grayish. It appears to be hopping, like running. It looks like it has the digigrade legs. To me, it looked like an ostrich or something.
Extremely fast.
It was very fast. It almost moves.
What would you say? It looked like it took 5-6 steps maybe to get all across the entire frame, and it was gone. If that,
Yeah.
4 or 5 steps maybe, and it was gone.
Yeah, yeah. It was really fast, but he sees it and he goes, "Oh!" And he runs in the house. He shuts the door, and he shut the door and was like, "What the heck was that?" Yeah, I told y'all. And but some people, okay, so here's kind of where we're at with it, okay, because some people say that it looked like smoke, okay, they say it could have been a ghost. Brown, okay, so before we go further, Brown Dwarf says he described his first Bigfoot sighting like a cartoon flip book. Exactly. Cryptiville says it did look cartoonish. That's the only way I know how to describe it. And yes, hey Bernard, he says 3 to 4 steps. Okay, so it's very odd. It's not normal as us in like human terms, like with animals that we know. It doesn't move like them. Okay, just like ETs don't move like an animal we know or a human. Okay, they move weird. Okay, so some people are saying it's the ghost. Some people thought it was the rake. Okay, like the pale crawler potentially, but I've never seen a pale crawler move that fast. Like that. So and some people say it's a werewolf, but most people think that's a Dogman. Okay, most people think it's a Dogman, and the fact that it was on a live stream on Facebook, it makes it hard for that to be faked. Right, Mary? What do you think?
Why?
Because it's live. I mean, unless it was like a projection. It would seem to be kind of elaborate if somebody made that, if that was a fake. I'm just saying. Or a hoax. But it could not say it couldn't be. But
I'll be honest. To me, I mean, I have to agree with it. Appeared to be look Dogman like.
Yeah.
But it almost looked like it did look cartoonish or more holographic to me. And who's to say now if you see one of these creatures that does emerge from one of these portals, what does it look like until they stabilize? I mean, so I don't know. There's no book on that, on exact theory, on how they look when they materialize and come through the portal. Giving for example, the thing that I had talked about last week, that Thinker Thunker, an analysis of that Colorado Bigfoot car chase thing that I always thought was crap until I started looking at him doing the ratios and then actually seeing the thing running forward. You know what I mean? But despite it having overpronation of the knees, which is almost impossible to see someone running like that, that's let alone in a suit, but that's another thing. But it appeared to, when you first see that thing come, they said they run over it, but there's like this black mass on the ground. And I thought it was that thing getting up and then running forward, but it's not. That black mass kind of remains, and this thing seems like it comes out of it or through it. And I'm wondering, like, was this thing trying to, do something that's beyond them just driving the heat from the air to dematerialize or something? Or what does it look like when they emerge from one of these portals or trying to use one? Just food for thought is all I'm saying on that. That's kind of what I got from that video anyway, that he had. It looked like it was, if you use a quantum hologram and you're coming through one of those portals, you're going to have that holographic thing still until you stabilize,
That's great. Yeah, it looks like it's manifesting.
For example, I'm not going to go over and bore your audience with the quantum hologram again, but literally when you see, a lot of people will see a UFO, they'll see one, and then all of a sudden there'll be two. And they'll both be, vibrant, and all of a sudden there'll be one again, and then that one will be gone. That's before they go into that portal, before they enter the aperture. You're seeing that quantum hologram right there. See what I mean? It's really interesting. So anyway, but who's to say that when you see a Dogman come out of a portal, you're not having a similar type of a, you know what I mean? Just food for thought again, you know?
Yes. Yes. That's right. I mean, we really don't know because we don't have a ton of evidence already of any kind of cryptid really manifesting through a portal. I mean, I've seen my share. I've seen a few. A matter of fact, one of my teammates, a good friend of mine, David Pardue, hit me up yesterday, and we were on the phone talking, and he has a picture of a cryptid manifesting out of a portal. So he will be coming on the show. We're going to be showing that soon. And
what kind of cryptid? What kind of cryptid?
A reptilian, actually.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
I would believe that. I would believe that.
Yes. And and we have some interesting evidence and experiences from people that had no knowledge of what he had on film or on camera, who experienced it beside that, who had no knowledge of what he already knew, who experienced it too. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about with that. So that's going to be on an upcoming show. He did offer to come on and discuss it. I think it's important that we do share this information with the world and with other researchers.
I think that's interesting and definitely worth listening to, because, I've talked to a whistleblower contactee experiencer that says they claim that they saw like a 10, 12 foot tall Draco with the wings go up into an orb in the size of a baseball. It condensed and then went up into this thing, and that those orbs are actually their craft. They're a dimensional craft. So that, what that individual is saying it's very worth listening to,
Oh yeah, that is very, very interesting. I mean, of course we had our friend Matt on my show last week or 2 weeks ago, and he has released that video in public. He's not putting it on the internet, but he has it at conferences now, where he's showing the orbs and turning into ETs. Okay.
And that's something really worthy of noting, is how those beings were moving after they emerged from these orbs. They were the orbs. Then all of a sudden it's them, and the way they were moving very, very fast. And I got the feeling of cyborg like. Does that make sense? Almost
Yes.
It was a little bit more than organic, a little bit more than AI. It was just very bizarre. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't want to digress.
This is an interesting statement. This is really cool. Thank you, Rocky Mountain Skywatcher. Says, I saw a 3x3 square like portal one time, and it folded in on itself and it was like a kind of predator energy, looking but not seeing through. That's interesting, because I've experienced that predator type see-through creature before myself. So and so that's important. So if you guys, anybody that's watching, put it in the comments, put it in the chat tonight. Tell us about your experience too, if you've experienced things like this that we're talking about tonight, because with us sharing our stories, we'll make some, we'll make some progress in some of this research that we're doing and try to figure some of this stuff out, because you're not alone. We're all having these weird experiences out there.
And that bending of the light, that is a Sasquatch, almost scientific fact of what they can do based on that the hair has been analyzed. You've got the chlorophyll in there, and the type of green, and the translucent, that there would allow them to bend light to a certain degree, and definitely camouflage much better than you could if you was wearing camouflage military uniform by far.
That's right. And watch out for those cubes. That's right, Robin. Robin watches the show enough to know to watch out for cubes. We talk about that because that's what my team encountered. And and Digger Dog's been out in the woods. Good for you, man. I love that.
I have a client that's from a city close to mine, and they're a targeted individual, and they've had some directed energy weapons that have blown up a tree on their property. They actually have it on film. But also they have taken pictures of these cubed portals, and they are appearing in the trees quite a bit. So very interesting.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Well, okay. So let's get back to the Fort Pierce Dogman sighting. So some people are saying that it was the video could be smoke from his cigarette, because you guys, if you watch the video, you'll see that he has a cigarette in his hand. Okay, so it could be a cigarette. But a lot of people dismiss that because the creature, whatever this is we're watching, it goes from left to right. Okay, so it goes across the screen. Smoke would rise up from like south to north, right? So up from down to up. Also, some people said, well, it could be headlights on a car. Okay, so headlights on a car, that would make sense. If there was a car, if you lived near a parking lot or a driveway and somebody pulled in the street or whatever, could have been that. Other people say that it could have been a horse or a deer. Okay, but it looked like it was running on two legs to me. That's why I actually sent you that message. I said, Barry, is this an ostrich? Just throwing it out there. It looks like an ostrich to me. It's not what the data says, but could it be an ostrich? I mean, we got to throw everything out there, put it all on the table. And I know I'm late to the party. I didn't know about this until recently. Okay, so I didn't even know about this until this year. But okay, so looking through the guy's Facebook profile, I did not. Okay, but some of the articles I was reading and some of the interviews that I watched today, they said that he's a super down to earth kind of dude, and he does not have any reason to fake this. Okay, so that was pretty much ruled out by people who had done the research on him. Okay, so and I did listen to that Dark Waters interview, or that little overview he did of the update tonight, and I did send that to you, Barry, and he did say that he was a really down-to-earth kind of dude. He also had some interesting things to say about his background, and after I get into the data, we're going to talk about that. Shall we get into the data tonight, Barry?
I'm game.
Let's do it. Okay. Ooh, interesting. Oh, this is another interesting comment. So Maureen's in the chat. Hey, Maureen. The creature I saw move fast and merged into a tree. That was a dogman. Now, Barry, how many times have we heard about dogmen coming in and out of trees, like a portal?
It's always Sasquatch, never Dogman. This is the first time I've heard that about Dogman.
Really?
That's interesting.
I've heard about Dogman. Yeah, I've heard about Dogman. One of the guys on my team, Tony Green, tells a story about his uncle who was running. This was a long time ago. His uncle was running from the cops showed up at his house. And so he ran out the back door because he knew he was going to get in trouble. So he took off running. And they said that when he went behind a large tree in his backyard, what came out on the other side of the tree was a dog, like a wolf, a large dog. And it trotted off into the forest. And when the police left, the dog trotted back out of the woods. It went behind that tree and it came out of his uncle. Okay, so black magic, holograms, portals, I don't know. He doesn't know, but it happened. Okay, and that's the story that his
question. Did he ask his uncle?
I mean, I don't know. He told me some other stories. There is a lot of black magic going on, I believe. Mm-hmm. So it had to do with black magic. Black magic. Okay. All right. So I have data for this. Okay. So the target was actually that video. Okay. Whatever was going on in that video at that moment, at that time in space, that moment in space and time, when he had the encounter with whatever that was in his backyard. That's the target for this. Okay. And this is going to be very interesting. Okay. Because I'm not going to say that that the data says anything about Dogman. Okay. At all. And, but some of the sensory data. Okay. Before I get into the analytic overlay, sensory data, I will go over all the sensory data. I got energetic, quick, blurred, alive, progressive, taunting, familiar, and stinky. I wrote down stinky. Okay, and my analytic overlay. This is like me trying to make sense of what I'm interpreting it kind of, over here. And so I wrote down energy, fast moving, elemental. Something that had to do with the shadows. I was seeing shadows. And I heard, I was seeing something that was like lightning fast, lightning. I wrote down lightning. And then I heard, clairaudiently, I heard, I know you're here. and then I wrote down stuff like Leviathan or Leviathan. I think it's Leviathan. I wrote down Levi, and then it was like Leviathan, and I wrote down. I kept getting like a lot of data that had to do with energy, and I wrote down a gross energy. So I can't remember. It's been a while since I did this target, so I don't remember if it was like I felt gross or it was like a large energy, like gross is in large. But my what do you call it? Okay, I had more data, like what I experience as I'm remote viewing it. Like you write that down, and it's oh my gosh. Okay. Anyways, I'm experiencing nauseate. I was nauseated. Okay. And I don't like cigarette smoke. And in this target, okay, this is a blind target. I didn't know what this was. I'm getting sick because I'm getting choked by smoke. Okay. And it's interesting because that guy in the video is actually smoking a cigarette. Okay. So I wrote down smoke, cough, and I wrote down weed and cigarettes. Okay. So that's actually what I was experiencing myself. Okay. So you know, I'm not saying he was smoking anything other than a cigarette. I'm just saying that's what I wrote down.
There, Jones. You got an RV buzz?
My eyes got real red after this one. Just kidding. So yeah, I mean, that's just a danger of remote viewing. You don't know what you're going to run into. Okay. And yes. So anyways, even in the ethereal realms, you're experiencing this kind of stuff. So anyways, yeah. Okay. So that was the aesthetic impact basically of like what I was experiencing. And I wrote an interesting sketch because it kind of looks like, it almost looks like an alien peeking out from behind a tree or something was the sketch that I made. But then I was looking at it when I saw the actual video and I saw what I was remote viewing, I thought, well, what if that's an ostrich? But I don't think so. It's not an ostrich at all. Okay, because I got more data. Okay, I have more data. So so I was picking up on something that was watching. Okay, watching and waiting. I heard private eyes, they're watching you. There's another song. That song is like from the 80s or the 90s.
I was wondering what tune you're gonna get on this one.
Private eyes, they're watching you. Yeah, I kept hearing that song when I was remote viewing this one. But I picked up on a literal animal. So I wrote down animal. That was one of my tangibles. There was an animal, and I wrote down wild animal. Okay, so a wild animal. I actually wrote down the word Wolverine, which is interesting. Yeah, that is Hall. So I love me some Hall and Oates. Thank you, Robin. So I wrote down Wolverine, but okay, so I wrote that down, and then the next bit of data that I got, and there's more data. You guys can see it if you go to my Patreon. But the next bit of data I wrote down under Wolverine was ghost and spirit. Ghost and spirit. That was in my intangibles. That's like something that I'm seeing, but you can't touch it. Okay, so I'm experiencing a ghost, a spirit. I wrote down hologram and energetic projection. Is what I wrote down. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, so I'm almost done. So I'll just finish it out. Okay, before we go further. So I was picking up something that was being projection, and that's when I wrote down energetic projection. And then I started feeling like I personally was like, when I was there, I started feeling uneasy and like frightened a little bit. And I heard shut it down. So I shut down the target. Okay. Because I was getting into something that was, I couldn't really tell what the target was. I'm not supposed to tell. I'm just supposed to be able to, write the data down. I'm not supposed to really analyze it as I'm going at all. I just write down whatever I'm experiencing. And whatever I started experiencing, when I started feeling frightened and scared, I shut it down. Because I have no business being in there and being scared about anything. I'm not scared of anything. But when I wrote that down, I was like, yeah, it's time to get out of this one. Okay, but there was an animal in the environment. But there was also, I wrote down ghost, spirit, and projection and hologram. So what do you make of that, Barry?
I mean, I think that one's pretty explanatory as far as what we've already been saying. It looks like hologram to me anyway. But everything implying that all the way around this is not a corporeal creature. and it may not have been ever become any more corporeal than what he had on the camera there on the film. That's almost the way it sounds. And we start doing these things when you get these entities that come through these portals. What do they manifest as on this side? Smoke-like, hologram-like, coming through the. I don't know. It's just it says a lot about how in some places I think also the dimensions are merging in some places, and I think he's on a spot like that. It's just where you got one of those portals or some active area, and I do believe without going further, you'll go further. I think he's NDE survivor, isn't he?
That is what they were discussing with Dark Waters on his little segment that he did, and that was 3 years ago. Okay, so it's been a while. I haven't heard any other updates. Like I said, I was just sliding in from a soccer game tonight, and I listened to that. So I don't know if there's any other kind of update since then. But he did say that the gentleman had NDEs, near-death experiences, and anti-venom. Oh my gosh, I love this statement. There is voodoo, and Santeria in South Florida. 100%. Okay, and I didn't pick up on like magical stuff in this target, but it doesn't mean it wasn't going on. And they had mentioned that on that little clip that I sent you from Dark Waters. Actually, there is a lot of that. There's some of that going on down there. Now, did it have something to do with this? Maybe. I mean, we talk pretty often about cryptids being conjured. And if this was a cryptid that had been conjured, I mean, I did show that picture of what looks like to be a Dogman.
My mama's generation called from that area, called them root throwers. They were called root throwers, especially the Creole descent. Yeah, I've actually met one once, and she was nobody to be trifled with, let me tell you. Huh.
Right? Yeah. You don't want to mess with the wrong person. She'll put you in a jar, man. I know. Yeah.
Or send you a scarf that'll give you cancer, something like that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm really serious.
That's pretty serious. Okay, I don't want that. Wow. Well, we've got to talk about this stuff when it comes to these cryptids, because if people are really looking for answers and are really having these real life experiences, we need to get to the root of where they're coming from.
Agreed.
What is their intention? Why are they here? Are we endangered? Should we be worried? Okay. A lot of the Dogman encounters that we have, that when I bring people on my shows, they're not violent. Okay. Hey, Rob, they're not violent. The majority of the encounters they're just neutral. Okay. It's like a Dogman. It's like, oh, this you again. I know you. Okay. And it's interesting because when I got into this target, I actually heard clairaudiently, I know you're here. I know you're here. So that could have been whatever this creature is, whatever this is, maybe they're seeing me as a remote viewer, and they're just letting me know they know I'm there. Or it could just be that they're cohabiting together. Whatever's going on with the ethereal or the cryptids with the humans there. It could be all of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's super interesting, and I love looking into this, of course. But I can't say positively that video is a Dogman, even though I did pick up on an animal and something that was like a Wolverine, but I also picked up on a spirit and a ghost. Could there be a ghost of a Dogman?
Exactly. If nothing else, not just the portals and the quantum holograms and all that, but they're echoes of the past that the Earth holds. They're imprints, and these things manifest. I just got through talking to, I think some people probably were pissed off at me because they're materialists, and I started telling them that they have to accept that when the contact phenomenon comes up, some of these beings are not coming from other planets or inner Earth or even other dimensions. Some of them are coming from consciousness. We have to accept some of that and the imprints and echoes within consciousness itself.
Yeah. Okay, I want to bring this comment back up. Thank you, Bernard. It says, Blue also had an altercation with someone prior to this happening. It may have been voodoo or hoodoo. Yeah, I don't know.
Or gang related. No, I'm just kidding. Oh man.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it could have been just about, could have been anything. I know, you're silly, Barry. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so there's people in the chat saying that means the root stuff is real, and I've heard that too. Man, scarf that will give you cancer. I have never heard that before. That's scary. Okay.
They gift a Christmas gift to somebody or something like that, and it's a scarf, and it's been jinxed, it's been hexed, literally. The person's wearing it or just having it in their possession, and it gives them genetic ailment. I mean, that's very serious, when you deal with those root throwers.
Man, that would cause karma.
I was always interested in when looking at hoodoo, like when actually slavery was going on and plantations was going on, how many root throwers you have that was throwing for those plantation owners. That's when it starts getting very interesting. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I digress. So.
That's right. I 100% agree with that. 100%. Yeah. Okay. And which will stick through bloodlines and generations of people too. So we also need to factor that in as well. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, basically that's all the data there. Okay. That's all the data. That's the main points to discuss tonight. Was that where I think it's really interesting. Something was there for sure. This gentleman did encounter something. I believe there's definitely an animal there in the environment, but there was something to do with a ghost or a spirit too. And so upon analyzing the data, like we just discussed, I have to question, could a Bigfoot, and I don't even know if we've talked about this before, can Bigfoots and Dogmen be spirits and things like that, And so it's just, like you say, Barry, it's food for thought. And I also wrote down, hologram. Okay, so.
I mean, a lot of this stuff is we're dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from two areas, not just the quantum hologram that I talked about, but also it's because that brings it into conscious phenomenon. And you got to remember this when we talk about the Akashic records, and that I'd say that they're Makos that are actually in space. We've also got Makos and attached to our individual molecules. So there's a whole other thing going on. We want to use like Earth portals. You're going to be getting the same type of phenomenon when dealing with the quantum hologram, the Mako, and still that memory that's there, which means that we can access these things consciously, not just the Makos far, but the ones right here. And it becomes a whole other thing when dealing with the dimensions of Earth, or like an onion. You peeled an onion before. How long did it take you to get to the middle?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, maybe I better start talking about dimensions. Nothing weird just happened over this way.
I just manifested. I just manifested myself back in here. Yeah, we're having storms right now, so we're having like super bad storms. So, yes, hopefully, everything will be cool. All right, let's stay cool, everybody. Act normal, okay? Yeah, we have an interesting comment here, or a question from Jojo Awaken. Okay, do you think that the more we think about them, the more they will manifest? What do you think about that, Barry? I think so.
I think that's a great question, and I think that brings them into being manifested beings. What Fred Beck said about Sasquatch is that he believed that they only really truly manifest when people are around, and they become corporeal at that point. But without people, they may not still manifest naturally in the wilderness. Very interesting. So the more we think, it's that way. Even if you have somebody that's crossed over into the light, and they've made that change, and they can come to and from and help, you start thinking about them. You can bring them, manifest them, bring them back around. I'm not talking about earthbound spirits. I'm talking about those that come to and from, almost like cherubim. Because they come with another angel usually.
You know what that reminds me of? Okay, thinking about like when you put your thought into something too much. Okay, so when I was a young lady, I lived before I had a kid and stuff. I lived in an apartment out in Decatur, Georgia, and it was a nice neighborhood. But I would sit at home at night if I stayed at home, and I like to go out and stuff and have fun, socialize. But I would watch the first 48, and I loved that show. That was my favorite show. It was the real raw deal of like, and I don't watch that at all now, by the way. I can't stand it now. But back then I was really, really interested in it's like it was actual real homicides and stuff. And I was like, man, this is really interesting. Well, I watched it so much, I was like, God, I hope this never shows up on my doorstep. Well, guess what happened? It showed up on my doorstep and they started filming on my street one day. Okay. Literally on my street. And so and I'm not kidding. This is the honest truth. I quit watching it that day. I quit watching it. I never watched it again. Don't even like watching it. I don't like hearing about it or anything because I felt like I manifested it. Okay. I didn't manifest it with me being on the show, thank goodness. Okay. But it was on my street. And I thought, man, it showed me the power of, I felt like I was manifesting it. It was something I'd worried about actually. And it happened. Okay, so our thoughts become things. So that's something that we all need to realize.
You know, I had an experience where I'm in front of these beings. They actually had bilocated me. And for lack of a better word, I call them throne beings because they seem to be on these pillars of light. All right. And one of them had communicated to me and showed itself in what looked like a chamber that was trapping the light that was coming out of their head. And they're communicating to me that our thoughts, the warp fields of our thoughts, change reality and affect reality. And, you know, from a geek perspective, I never even thought of that because warp fields is like warp theory and propulsion, things like that. But I didn't think of it in terms of thoughts being warp fields themselves and the parameter of what they were saying. I get it now, you know, and it's so that stuff is very, you know, and when actually using our creative visualization, and a lot of people truly don't know how to intend their will, how to project and intend their will. I mean, they can intend to get that paycheck, but it's
Right.
not a lot of spiritual intention that's given like towards creator, towards consciousness, you know, and we have very little time for it just to pay our bills and do that too. But it's designed that way, sadly.
Yeah. Hey, if we want something bad enough, we can manifest it. Okay, manifest it, and we have to realize how powerful we are. And if you knew how powerful you truly were, you would never think a negative thought ever again. You really wouldn't. And it's easy for me to say, okay, but you know, it's
I mean, that's why telepathy is not which should be our primary mode of communication on this planet, should be telepathic communication, and it is not. Half the people, most of us, can't even use it. Don't know how. And there's a reason for that. If we were telepathic, like we should be, it'd be much harder for the criminal activities, for the murders, for the things we see. Your intentions would be all over the place. It would change things here. Just saying. Again, food for thought, you know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Bernard, that's crazy. I know, like that. He's Bernard's talking. He's put in the chat some of the things that there's like he's talking about blood magic and stuff, and about accepting food from people. I'm not going to get into details, okay? But yeah, there's certain ideas. I'm just going to say ideas that if you feed someone your own blood, you basically have like a blood bond with that person your entire life. It's like cutting your hand and having a, what do you call that? Like when you cut your hand and you shake hands with somebody else, they cut their hand and it's like blood brothers or something. It's not sanitary, okay, but it gives you like a bond with somebody, and it can be used for really bad. Okay, so the show's not on blood rituals, y'all. I know, but we are talking about it in relation to this manifested Dogman potentially. Okay, so it does have something to do with it potentially.
You know, What we still got a little bit left, don't we? So can we do like the Jessica Barry thing and just go off topic and make pissed everybody off? Listen,
yeah, I mean, we still have another target too. Okay, so we still got something else to talk about.
Go for it, please go.
No,
No, I don't want to get off that. I want you to go over that because I just want to say, if we have enough time, I want to discuss the show you did with Dennis Carroll yesterday.
Okay.
I thought it was really good, and a couple of things on there I think are worth talking about. So anyway, but go on, get that next target.
Okay, so the second target we're going to talk about. So I hope that we covered that. I think we covered this potential Dogman in Fort Pierce, Florida, pretty thoroughly so far. Okay, and I think that I would like to see more updates of what's going on there now. By the way, there was so some group went in and set up like cameras. Okay, and this is something I found online. This was from 3 years ago. They're not still in service. But there was I don't remember the name of this YouTube channel, dogmancams.com at Fort Pierce, Florida. I was reading the comments and people are like, man, I've never seen a single dogman on these cams. Okay, but it's the thought that counts, right? I mean, the research that we do is not always exciting. I'm just putting it out there. It's boring, actually. A lot of it can be very boring. So enjoy the cameras. Maybe there'll be something that shows up for a split second. You know, you just gotta. It's part of the research. It's part of the research. You know what I mean? So, okay. So, yeah, I would like to do an update with this one day and find out if anything else has happened there. All right. So, speaking of the Atlantic Ocean, the Fort Pierce is right on the Atlantic side of the United States, and something happened last week. Something mysterious happened, and there was an anomaly that was captured on a radar, I guess you could say, some kind of radar. I believe it's called the Venti Sky. Okay, Venti Sky. It's an app. They collect weather data, windfall, and waves. Okay, waves. And at some point last week, it was the day after. I believe it was the day after the solar eclipse. Or the day of something. Okay, so I took y'all. I was in a rush today because I had so much going on. I have screenshots of TikTok videos. Okay, so that's all I have today. Sorry, y'all. But something showed up on this app. Okay, and the first day on April the 8th, it seemed to come out of Antarctica, and it was a huge mass. There were. So the reason that it's red right there, I mean, this thing is the size, they said it's the size of Texas, but my goodness, that looks like it's the size of half of Africa right there. I mean, literally, or a third of it. This thing is, let's see, 2,000 miles wide, 1,500 miles long. The dark red area is indicating that there are 80-foot waves, 80-foot tall waves. People were freaking out over this. Okay, freaking out. And here it is. It showed up for about a day, and then or 2 days, and then it disappeared. What it was doing, it was moving from Antarctica up the coast of Africa, and it was right there at Cape Town. Now, Barry, you mentioned you're like, well, there's no video of like anything crazy going on. Well, actually, there is, and you can find videos of Cape Towns in Africa. Okay, southern Africa. The waves, there was flooding and terrible flooding and huge storms. And yes, there was a surge. Okay, so there was stuff going on there. Now, was it to the extent of 80-foot waves? I don't know. But there was some kind of disturbance.
And that's the only place where this thing moved completely up the coast like that? That's the only place is this Cape place?
Of course not. Probably not.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm having issues with this one. I just am. I don't buy it. Not fully. So I want to hear the data, so please keep going. Convince me. Jones, make me a believer.
I'm not here to convince you.
I want to belong. Like William Shatner, you know.
I'm not here to convince. I'm only here to read the data, okay, and kind of give an overview, because we're gonna kind of figure this out together tonight, because I don't know what the heck it is. But let's see. Yeah, I don't know what this is. I think, okay, Digger Dog. This is great because the pictures that I was showing actually came from that TikTok channel. It's Mr. MBB333. I got some of those screenshots from that site. Okay, so it started off leaving Antarctica. It almost looked like a chunk of Antarctica had broken off or something, and was floating up the coast or through the ocean. It started out with 13 to 28 foot waves in Antarctica. Okay, then it disappears by Cape Town, South Africa. Shortly after the anomaly went through, Cape Town got flooded. And people were saying, well, could it have been something that had to do with like an asteroid impact? Okay, was it a glitch in the matrix? Was it a glitch on the radar? Because that's what Venti Sky says. They said it was just a glitch. That's all it was. See, people
During a
weren't
time
really
of high solar activity by coincidence.
right. Well, we just had the eclipse. Okay, and that's a good point too, John Fortman and Coco. Yeah, Dubai did get rain. Dubai is flooded. However, I've seen a lot of videos of Dubai where they're talking about weather manipulation. What do you call them? Machines. Okay, so I think they control their weather there. I think everywhere controls the weather, but that's my opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Well,
Okay.
if you listen to what Arkeem says, and he's really into the hotels with the symbols and everything. And
Yes.
I know somebody whose father that I actually grew up with, his father constructed with Trump one of the biggest hotels ever out there in Dubai. So it's got the tennis court on the top of it and all that. So there's going to be a place that's going on. It would be there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of weird stuff going on out there. Okay, so here's the thing. If this had been an asteroid impact, there would have been a large wave that went out like in the radius in all directions, right? And it would have impacted everything around it. But that didn't seem to happen. The only report that we got, really, the only thing that I could find was that flooding in Cape Town in Africa. That's all I could find. But, okay, so then I found, our buddy Jeff from Strangeology, you guys, he was on my show about 2 Saturdays ago. Jeff put Strangeology put a really cool TikTok out. And I have a picture of him. Hey, shout out to Jeff. Hey, I took a screenshot of this because I thought this was really cool. These are all the boats and stuff. I think he said there's a whole bunch of, that looks like land though. Could have sworn he said that was boats. Never mind. Maybe that's not boats. But he was talking about there were tens of thousands of ships in the area. And had this happen, if it was like a gigantic mass, because some people are saying it could be a USO, unidentified submerged object, I think is what that is. And it's like a UFO, like a craft underneath the ocean and just gliding through from Antarctica up into the Atlantic, going north. But he said that there are tens of thousands of ships, and had that happen, all those ships probably would have been destroyed. Okay, so, but at the same time, there was also, I don't know if I brought the picture up. That's not it. Okay. Well, anyways, I had another picture to show that was like flood warnings all along the East Coast 3 days ago. So 3 days ago, about the time that this was it reappeared and it started to dissipate between the United States and North America and Europe. So now like the area in between the United States and Europe and the Atlantic is like red. Okay. So the waves are kind of choppy right now. All right. But that big thick mass is not there anymore. It's gone. Okay. It's gone. But people are freaking out. Like, what is that? What is it? And it's not in the news. It's not in the news. And like I told you, Barry, I found the main sources of information on TikTok. And there was one article on MSN. And listen, I do not trust the news personally. I really don't. And that's why we have a remote viewing target of this mass. Okay, so let's get into it, shall we? Okay. Here we go. All right, so this is an interesting one. I can't see this as a glitch, Barry. I don't think this is a glitch. I don't think it was totally a glitch, actually, because with this target, whatever this mass or whatever this was coming out of Antarctica, I picked up on something that was, well, I picked up something that was fluid and floating. Okay, so like I was obviously in the water. I was in the water in this target. Something that was moving quickly. I picked up on I actually wrote down the word mass and I wrote down solid mass. Okay, now I was picking, okay, so what I wrote when I was interpreting some of this data in my analytic overlay, I wrote down amongst a whole lot of other stuff, I wrote down High Brazil, which is weird. High Brazil and Inner Earth was in my data. I even wrote down the word vessel. Okay, vessel. I was hearing go with the flow, which that just means something is the current, whatever it is, moving up. I really don't believe this was just a glitch. I really don't. According to this data, when I'm going back and analyzing the data, I actually wrote down beyond space and time. Go with the flow. I was picking up on inner Earth connections. I literally wrote down the word High Brazil. Now, Barry, you gave me that as a blind target a long time ago. What is High Brazil? Can you tell the audience?
I gave you a couple of the Phantom Islands for that target. High Brazil would be the main one, and High Brazil is a island, a Phantom Island, as they're called. There's several of them, but this one appears like, I can't remember now. Was it every 7 years? I think it is
7. Yep.
Yeah, and it's got this mist around it, and it sounds a lot like the place where Kong comes from. The island Kong comes from. It just has that Skull Island, I think it's called. It's got that kind of properties. But the reason why I had given you that target, that blind target, is because I've been saying for years before I ever came forward, which was 2014, that I believe High Brazil and the other one because High Brazil appears and then disappears and the other one appears. I believe both of those are huge. And this is information I seem to get from, the star beings, it came from somewhere. And that these are actually Legion craft that come up every 7 years because they come from the inner Earth, but they have to refuel their solar cells because they're run on these solar magnetically charged crystals, which also were in Atlantis and in Lemuria, excuse me. But every 7 years, they have to come up and charge those solar cells, and for lack of a better word. And then they go back. But I wanted to see what you actually got as a blind target. And pretty much most of your data confirmed my quote unquote educated hypothesis.
That's all we can have, our educated hypotheses, because we're not told the full extent and the truth behind things. And maybe those who are I want to say controllers or something, maybe they don't even know the full extent of what's going on, but it's interesting nonetheless. And the fact that came up in this target is even more interesting. Okay, because we're looking at something that we're being told is none other than a glitch. None other than a glitch. It has not been in the news at all. And oh my gosh! Yeah, thank you, Peter.
There's something to just throw in with this, though. If it was High Brazil or something like that, you've got a situation where you have these engines, these energy sources of these craft that convert a type of life energy or orgone energy and from the water, and that propulsion or that conversion actually caused the byproduct of a mist itself that they use for cloaking. But my problem is this: technology like that and one that size, you see very few USOs that aren't those CGI fakes that go into the water that leave a splash. They're using anti-gravity, not even anti-gravity, it's gravity modification fields that makes it to where they don't make splashes. Zero gravity in that way. So I'm saying this thing moving like that, why would it cause? See what I mean? I'm just throwing this out. That almost seems something like it's human made that doesn't have that type of technology that we just discussed. Anyway, go ahead. I want to hear the data. I want to keep going.
Oh, the data gets juicier. It's about to get juicier too. Okay, so we've established that I wrote down High Brazil. Okay, I wrote down Beyond Space and Time. I actually wrote down the word base. And yes, Channel Warhorse, I did say vessel. I see you in the chat. Peter, Thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate you so much. That's my buddy, y'all. I feel like we grew up together since children. Okay, Peter. Hey, Peter. Okay, so base. I wrote fly away. Okay, fly away. I literally wrote down. Okay, this is what I wrote down next. Unmanned craft and ship. I wrote unmanned craft ship in that order. I wrote down AI cloaking and cloaked. And I actually wrote down the word disappearing. Okay, so I also was picking up on data that had to do with communication. I heard clairaudiently it's part of the plan, whatever the plan is. Okay, I heard part of the plan, but something that was very dangerous. I was picking up on metals, like okay, so I wrote, this is some of the other stuff I wrote down. I wrote metallic metals. I wrote down particles, wave particles. I wrote down the word hadron, Large Hadron Collider, which is CERN, right? And then I wrote down, I wrote down data that had to do with mind control and like MK Ultra and stuff too. So, and then I wrote, this is the last bit of data that I wrote down. I wrote down mass event imminent. And then I ended it because I was like, okay, that's messed up. Mass event. That doesn't mean it's a bad event, but I just heard mass event imminent is what I heard. And then I shut the target down after that. I don't even know what that means. Okay. But through that data, I personally don't think that this is just a glitch, whatever this thing is.
What exactly do you think it is, Jones? What do you think it is?
I think there was actually something there. And I don't know anything about this, but according to data,
man, that was a vague answer. So I think there was something there. You sound like George Dory. Yeah, there's something going on. You know, I'm just
going on.
Seriously, yeah. So do you feel it was a craft? Do you feel like it was an organism?
I wrote it down. I wrote it down. Okay, I also was like, I wrote down stuff like toxins and chemtrails and things like that. Like that was part of the data too. So something that was very toxic. Okay, there's something toxic. But it has something to do with particles, metals, particles. Like I said, I wrote down, I wrote down metals and chemtrails and things like that. So something has to do with that. And it has something to do with CERN as well. I wrote down Hadron Collider too. Okay, so I don't know, maybe the audience, and I know Barry, listen, I'm just putting the data out there because I don't even know what this stuff is or means. Okay, and so I'm sure there are people that are way more in tune with whatever is going on out there that can make more sense of this than I can. And so that's why the beauty of what I'm doing right now is just putting the data out there, and then the real researchers out here, you guys can do what you will with it. Okay. But this is just what it is. And I was picking up, whatever it is that's dangerous, it's part of the plan, whatever the plan is, and whoever has the plan. But there's something to do with communication. Whatever this is, there's toxins in it, metals are involved, wave particles, mind control. Okay, so I know it's kind of all over the place, but it's also very interesting. Oh, interesting. Happy times. All of your words fit right in with that Ishmael Perez said. Ooh, okay. Well, I would like to see what he said. I'll have to look him up. I know who he is.
I'll pass.
Yeah. Well, I'll look him up. It is very interesting.
Anyway, I don't know. I tend to say that this is something that is man-made. I really do. Or man influenced for some reason. And I just say that based on the technology that would be coming from inner Earth, even if it's crypto-terrestrial wise, I think.
Okay. I'm just reading some of these comments here. These are all very interesting. So Rebel Gene says, he said that it was really bad that good guys in a mothership took it up and away and locked it up. So whatever it was taken away.
Okay, look, I just have a question.
Well, I love all this.
How does he know that?
Okay.
Says who? I mean, I'm very leery of individuals in these communities that say things and certain information they give. Okay. And I watch some of these people and some of the stuff they say, and I don't resonate with a lot of it. And I wonder where they get their information, especially when they give bad advice, which I've heard, things that get earthbound spirits trapped. So I question where people get their information. And,
Okay.
and it doesn't always go with me. They say, oh, it's a channeling from who and what. I'm just saying, I'm sorry. Somebody's got to stand up in these communities because there's so much BS some of these people are saying that they don't know anything really.
Okay.
It's easy.
Well, I mean,
It's
I'm
easy.
over
It's
here remote
easy to talk
viewing, so
quantum
people
physics. I can talk
say
quantum
about me.
physics. It's not hard. Anyway, let's go
I
forward
know.
before I digress more and show too much of my real
Okay.
opinion on many people. So let's go forward.
See, but then you see it on my side. Like I've actually been trained for many years in remote viewing. Okay, and so but people listen. I get people send me like recordings of people plotting on me and like talking about me behind my back. Like I've got a whole selection of people talking crap about me that people send me
And tune that out,
because
my
they're
friend.
remote
It's only because
viewing.
you're doing your work. It's growing
So
pains. You're doing a great amount of work, varied work. You're doing a great job. Don't worry about it. That's just haters and growing
yeah,
pains.
but
Keep what you're doing, my friend. You're helping a
okay,
lot of
thank
people.
you.
It's important. It's important.
But I think it's just the point is like it's all relative, and it's all about like people wonder where I get my information from too. I wonder where I get my information from. I don't know. It's part of remote viewing. It's just it's what I'm trained to do. So it is what it is. It is. But yeah, but hey, I think that every facet of what we're doing is important, and no matter how we're getting information, I mean, if it resonates, it resonates. You know what I mean?
Boom, right there. That comment right there from, I like that name, Auntie Venom. You know
Huh?
what? It's people that say that, stuff like that, just like that I find out are major experiencers and contactees. Sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't. But everything that individual has said so far, you posted, has been really heavy. Nothing we're saying is out of their level, not at all. But
Okay.
they sound like a contactee. It's always the people that come up to me at the conferences and stuff and say, or send me emails. I haven't had any experiences like yours. And then I feel this Artron energy coming off them, like I felt it coming off you. And you start talking about some things. You saw a UFO or something, didn't you? Well, yeah, I did one day for a couple of minutes, And a few nights later, they have dreams about strange beings and stuff. It's amazing. So I think that nothing that we're saying is beyond anybody in this audience. You got a kicking audience, so I give much credit.
I'm the best.
Or as we say back in the 80s,
Yeah,
I'm giving props. You got to give props.
give props.
Or was that the 90s? I can't remember now.
Give him
Anyway.
props. Yes. We'll give him props. No, I have the best audience in all the best viewers in all of the world. I really do, and I appreciate each and every one of y'all. And our chat tonight is off the chain. We have a huge audience tonight. I'm humbled by this tonight. Thank y'all for being here.
They're really cool in terms of, because honestly, I was somewhat leery because I always heard how aggressive and hateful the Bigfoot community was. But your audience is not that. They're something different. They're not the cryptid. They're not the Bigfoot. They're like more than that. It's really cool.
We're the other. We're the other. We're the choice D, like on a multiple choice test, like it's A, B, C, or D, all of the above, right? So yeah,
I always like the D. I always chose D.
I know.
Brewster's Millions.
I know.
Anyway.
I know. Same.
So going back to this thing, I would be willing to accept that it could possibly be some type of intercraft, definitely. But I mean, it's just a little odd that the technology would leave that much behind for a higher civilization, even inner Earth. So it makes me think it could be man-made, or it could also be biological to a degree. We don't really know what all's down there. So that's kind of interesting if you're picking up information like that. And I'm glad. It's better than it's just being a full hoax from faulty technology, which I suspected especially because it was a time of high radiation and stuff for the eclipse. Just made me suspect,
It was, but this coming from this target, that's a lot of data over a blind target that is where it could be just a glitch in the system. I would say otherwise, just from analyzing the data, I'd say that was not just a glitch in the system.
No, was this a blind target?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, it is what it is. Sometimes I've given you some targets convinced that they might be fakes,
Yeah.
and then they turned out not to be. And then I know what to do. I was, oh no. And once or twice, just as a good friend, of course, I threw you a trick, and you knew it immediately. So I know you can tell when somebody throws you something that isn't real. So that's good.
Well, it's just the data shows that it's not real, and like whatever it is, I'll either have a really hard time and get super frustrated because I'm not getting any data out of the numbers, or it's like wacky. It's super wacky. But usually when they're not real, I pick up the story behind it. Like if it was written, if it was something that was, I pick up the storyline behind how it's not real. Okay, like that'll be in the data. I know that sounds weird, but
Hey,
it's yes.
no. Hey,
Are you whispering?
how do you feel? How do you feel like do you feel like we just addressed that target pretty good?
Yeah, you want to go to something different now.
I want to do the Gemini thing. Yeah, go to another subject real quick because I know we're running out of time, and some people don't get as mad at me as I thought they did when we do that. But listen, this is concerning that interview you did with Dennis Carroll like yesterday. It was really good.
Thank you.
I really respect. He's like, I know a lot about dark forces in terms of strategies they use, and especially the strategies they use and certain things, but I try to stay away from that as much as I can outside of just exposing. He's really gotten in there and he knows that stuff. And I asked him about Malachi Martin yesterday, and you posted it, and he said several things. He said he met the man. I thought that was really, really impressive. Anyway, it was inspiring enough that I tagged both you and him on a post that I had put on Facebook years ago from a woman. It was initially it was I think it's Art Bell, but it was a lady he'd interviewed. Debbie Moffat is her name, Moffiat, and she's part of a book that is called A Deadly Haunting. And I heard her do several interviews, but Art Bell was the first one, or Coast to Coast was the first one. And of all the negative inorganic being demonic type of stories I've heard, that is probably the worst one. Really? And I just tagged you both on. I found another interview from Farside, I think, or whatever the name of it was, but I posted on Facebook for both of you. And Dennis immediately was listening to it. He messaged me saying, "This is really interesting." But when dealing with the type of entity that was in this house, but was really attached to a family member of this woman, and you're dealing with one of those entities that was actually manifesting things like old spears and putting them in the bed so people would sit on them, blowing out windows, blowing out closets. Listen to what the lady says. I mean, you've got one of those ones there, and you have shamans, priests come in, and this thing dogs them all out. It won't leave. It laughs. And they're going in. She describes communicating with this thing through the bathroom mirror. Let the mirror fog up, and it would communicate with them through the mirror always. Yeah, yeah.
A mirror is a portal.
Mm-hmm. Mirror's a portal. Yeah, and just that whole story was just about as real as it gets. And I want to say, I hear so much people telling me things. Oh, I battle the dark forces. I do this and that. And they're just new age people, and they're just full of light, and they're this and that. That's cool, but be careful what you're messing with and what you wish for, because it's you can mess with some of these little shadows we see, these flinting shadows that you can get rid of. You can do things that make them go away just on willpower alone. All right. But then you've got that's like the X-ray machine. The technician told me the ones that are the entities that come around the X-ray machine are like these shadows. They're flinting, but the ones that attach to MRI machines seem to follow us home. They give us nightmares. That's a whole different thing going on. So you come up against, you're trying to go battle evil, but you've never really battled some type of million-year-old demon, or like the one they're dealing with there. Some million-year-old, billion-year-old dark force. You're in for the struggle of your life. Your protections don't work. What do you do? I mean, it's serious. Don't go looking for that. Straight up. And when you listen to that, what that woman's talking about, listen to all the amount of shamans that came in there and things that could not deal with that thing at all. and how it was trying to attach to her mother or her mother-in-law, saying, hey, that was supposed to be my sacrifice, lifetimes ago, and she got away, and now she's going to be mine. I'll leave your kids alone. I'll leave your parents alone. Everybody in the house, but she's mine. And then it starts giving her a name that goes back so far back in dark magic, and it's not even the priests that were doing that. It's the force they were summoning that's upset it didn't get its sacrifice, a blood sacrifice. It was manifesting spears that were 200 years old in these people's bed for them to set on underneath their bed. She was taking them, getting them analyzed, and saying that is for your father to do a blood sacrifice on his wife, who's supposed to be mine. I mean, that's serious stuff.
Jeez.
I'm just bringing that up because you're good exposing that. I just think a lot of people don't know what they're dealing with when dealing with those type of things. And Malachi Martin himself had said, his name has come up. I listened to everything he did on Art Bell. Art Bell did at least 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 interviews with him. There are many of them. I listened to every one. The first one, it was like 94. It had me on the edge of my seat the whole time, But he talked about a lot of those exorcisms being weeks long. So people don't know what they do. With the deal in the Exorcist movie, Max von Sydow plays the Ming from Flash Gordon. I like him in that role barely most. But anyway, he played the exorcist that died during the exorcism, remember? And Malachi Martin said in real life that was a friend of his, that priest that died during the exorcism by I think it was I can't remember exactly how he said it happened, but it was real stuff. Anyway, I'm just bringing that up because I thought you did a really good job about addressing that. You and Dennis went hard on it. I just want to give some credit and just bring up that particular piece of information. A Deadly Haunting, Debbie Moffat, Moffitt. If you've not heard of that, check it out. Go to YouTube, Google, and listen to an interview with her. It's really interesting, and it'll be worth your time. Okay, I'll shut up now. I'm sorry. I went way too far. I took us off topic, but you probably have something to add on that because you've seen some stuff,
Oh, I've seen some stuff. That's for sure. Well, we talk about this whole blood ritual stuff all the time. It comes up like every other show or something. It comes up a lot. And these generational curses. And I mean, this is a spiritual battle. Okay, with a lot of us are fully aware of that. And so that's why I'm always saying we're bringing the darkness to the light here on my channel. Maybe that's why all those people talk bad about me all the time and stuff. Maybe that's why, because we are exposing the darkness, and that's, I guess, it's my job. I didn't mean to set out to do that.
Well, I mean,
that's my job, but I guess it is.
You're going into what's causing this really. What is all this? What's bringing it up? Going behind it. Just like when dealing with contact experiences, the thing that Matt has, seeing those things running around, they look like they're not fully organic, but maybe. But bottom line, what is the prime intelligence that sent them, that created them? That's what we don't get to.
Yeah.
And the media doesn't address it because it's materialist. It's not consciousness. Consciousness goes too much into philosophy. People don't want to deal with that. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we are putting it out there, and it's whether we mean to or not. I never in a million years saw myself speaking publicly, first of all, on my field research. I mean, the first time I met you was the first time I ever spoke publicly ever about it, Larry. That was like, what, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah,
so,
I didn't know that. I thought you did a few because I was aware of how much field research you've done, which I thought was really cool. Because if people like you do that, people like me don't have to. No spoilers for me. I'm all right. Oh man.
Yeah.
But seriously, that is cool though.
Well, it's important that we are putting it out there. Yeah, this can be kind of dangerous, I guess. I don't know. I don't have fear, okay? And I'm not scared of a whole lot of stuff. If y'all hadn't noticed, okay, Barry, I ain't scared of a lot of stuff.
I guess I might as well bring this up.
There's that one target I don't like doing.
Yeah, well, I want to bring that up actually because I jumped the gun and I got myself in trouble probably. And I had given you we can talk about it on here. I
Yeah,
gave
we
you, I
saw
gave
that.
you, I gave you. Well, I mean, just what it was. I gave you a target, and it was a blind target. You didn't know what it was, and it was what is called the Space Mona Lisa, which was supposed to be a mystery NASA mission called Apollo 20, and supposedly they went to our moon and found a crashed space or an abandoned ship there, and on board was this melanin dominant looking woman that was mummified, and there's pictures of her and stuff, and there's pictures of this disposable equipment and all this stuff, and it caused so much dissension everywhere, but especially among the aware melanin dominant contact community. It caused quite the ruckus.
Okay.
And I will just say this, all right, because we're never going to get to really talk about it. So I had seen a video many years ago after that had come out sometime after, and it was a production that the gentlemen weren't speaking English, but you saw them actually making a doll that looked like this thing, identical, and then they're also putting together these consoles and filming it. It's like, it looked like almost a Stanley Kubrick type of thing. And so that leads me to believe that I don't fully believe that whole thing is real. But then we've seen people put out stuff like they did on the alien autopsy to deliberately confuse people. You know, somebody attacked me over that show we did. And so there's a video of the guy saying they did this and that, this and that. Oh, yeah. And I said, you notice we talked about that actually. And I did a video about that. Did you research who those individuals were? Actually read what they said, read the props they said that were this thing. It didn't even look the same. It little, but it looked really fake. It's a total different thing going on there. And that's disinformation from counterintelligence to throw off something really that is leaked to the public.
Like the alien autopsy.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's putting something, there's something real that shows up. Just like, hey, let's say something real showed up on TikTok. Okay. And somebody in the chat did say, well, that's why they want to get rid of TikTok, right? Because people are putting out stuff that's getting past the filters, the censorship. Okay. They're putting it out there. That's why there was one article with MSN on the mass in the ocean. Okay, that's the only one I could find. There were no pictures of it, no graphs, no nothing. On my and that's a DuckDuckGo search, by the way. Okay, but you go to TikTok and it's everywhere. Okay, so it's just food for thought, Barry. Okay, food for thought, and yeah, there's an active, shall I say, cover up? Dare I say, cover up going on? But yeah, and even with this target, okay, so I'm not supposed to be doing targets that involve the moon. Okay, so I'm not. So we're not going to get into it. Okay, let's not really get into this one too much. But I can
I think I'm going to push this. I'm going to push it with you, and I'm going to push it with all y'all. There are so many people now, people that haven't even been really trained like you have, to call themselves remote viewers. Apparently, anybody can just say that now. Just astral seeing, but hey, a remote view without even doing the real processes you're talking about. Anyway, right. I like to see some real a coalition of real remote viewers like you, John Vivinko, Tonya, and a few others that actually get together, like maybe 15, 20 y'all, and look at the moon and do a symposium on it. All 20 y'all on there, everybody talk about their data individually and then compare it and blow the lid off the moon thing. And what are they going to do? Come off every one of y'all? No, they're not. Somebody needs to break this stuff and the control that's going on remote viewers concerning the moon. You know, people don't even listen to Richard Hoagland anymore. Richard Hoagland, along with that guy Raymond Bernard that wrote that book, Somebody Else Is on the Moon. I found that when I was a kid. I got guided to that. I was in like the 5th grade. I couldn't put it down, you know. And he's showing all that stuff, those tractors things on there. Then going on to Ingo Swann, that movie, that book, Penitentiary.
Penetration.
I keep saying that because O.J. Simpson just died, and there was that actor Isaac Leon Kennedy. I was eating dinner with him when I was at the SETI Ranch. We left the ranch and we're all eating dinner, and everybody got up and left the table. Was outside smoking or whatever they were doing, And this is him and I asked him, I said, what do you think about the OJ trial, man? What do you think? What do you think about that? He looks at me, he's like, man, why would you even ask me something like that, brother? I said, well, I don't know. Probably because my mother watched every day of that trial all the way to the end. And then she cried at the end of the judgment.
I remember all that.
You know what he said to me?
What?
I might as well. He says, I saw him not long ago at an Indy 500 race. And he came running up to me, walking up to me. He's trying to give me a hug and shake. He looked at me and said, what would you do? Would you hug him? Would you shake his hand? I was like, I don't know, man. He's like, man, he's one of my best friends he used to be. We were partners. We all ran together. I said, okay. And he started eating again. He looked at me, he said, you remember that letter? I said, yeah, the trial letter. He's like, if you know OJ like our crew does, he did that.
Oh man. Don't stop. I already know what you're gonna do. You're gonna give me that homicide as a blind target. I know you are.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. That's a lame target. No, the worst target ever gave you was the Hat Man, blind target. I try not to give you stuff that's going to put you in jeopardy or anything. No. Just anyway. I'm sorry. I keep saying penitentiary because that guy's in that movie. Yes, it's penetration. Sorry, back to subject. I'm talking about OJ. Sorry, y'all. I apologize, group. Anyway,
I'm not doing that target, by the way. No.
No, I would never do that to you. But seriously, it's all about that book. Penetration is all about the moon. Yeah. I don't know if even you believe me, but I swear to you, like the time after I had my accident, which was 2010, that book on Amazon was going for $400, $500 a used copy until Ingo Swann died. Anyway, so just when it comes to the moon, I think that y'all need to get together and blow the lid off of it and do it as a coalition. So if one of y'all dies, we know exactly what happened. They got, and we go forward from there. Just kidding. That was bad jokes.
Guinea pigs, huh?
But I think seriously, you professionals, Princess Janae, she's going to be at, I think, the conference you and I are speaking at. So I'll get to meet her for the second time. All y'all need to get together and really we need to find out what's going on and stop the control,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, it's, I don't know what it is behind it. I don't know. I was just taught remote viewing. It's something I like to do. And I was asked not to do the moon. Like, we don't do that. We don't go to the moon and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to get into it too much today, but yeah. I did get a proverbial knock at my door on that one. Okay. So you're right though. It is the year, it is the time for disclosure. Full disclosure, and you and I will be actually speaking at the Full Disclosure Now conference in July. So we might even go over some of these moon targets in person live. How about that?
Are there any other celestial bodies in our solar system that are off limits?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Europa. I've heard Europa is. People aren't supposed to look at Europa.
I don't know. I've never remote viewed that I know of. See, here's another thing, and I saw somebody in the chat was saying something about finding missing people, and I absolutely do that as a remote viewer. And I know, like, getting together with the group, it would be the path to take. Like find missing people. Now, I have done that for a very long time, and none of that's public, because it's not appropriate. There's certain things that I do that aren't appropriate to bring out to the general public and stuff, especially because most of the people that I am tasked with finding, they're deceased. Okay. And a lot of them died horrifically sometimes and stuff. And I'm locating bodies. I'm doing deep mind probes and talking with people who have been hurt and stuff. And it's very hurtful to me. It's very taxing on my body, and it takes a lot out of me to do that. So I absolutely do that, but that's just not something that I don't talk about it publicly. And I think other remote viewers do it as well. Okay, a lot of people do, but there's just things that, I'm not one to go bragging about finding missing people and stuff, because it's a hard thing to do, very hard thing to do, especially when it's like children.
I'm trying to think. I remember the name of. I was somewhere and there was this lady talking, and she'd find all of these missing people, not far from there. Yeah, I was really impressed. So I can imagine how stressful that is. You were there. You remember? They found a bunch of people. I think anyway, it's just interesting. I think that okay, I don't know how to say this. I wish that it's kind of like hypnosis. Anyone can really say they're a hypnotist, and they may not have been trained well, and they may not be a good hypnotist, but it's an unregulated field. And I think RV is the same way in terms of, it's not regulated enough to where people that, and I've seen you get frustrated once or twice,
Mhm.
because you've been through a lot of training. It wasn't just a course like 2 hours, like I went through a workshop. And I nailed the target, but I mean, so people say, how can you teach them remote viewing? I've been through a course of it, and I actually did good at it, but it was only 2 hours. It was not like what you did. That's like, you know, barely being able to learn how to dog pedal when you need to be doing the backstroke. It's totally different. You know what I mean? So I just think that needs to be brought out more, so that some people that aren't really remote viewing will quit saying that and say, I can astral see. I can see a little bit. I can do that too, but I mean it's not the same as a system that produces the data you do that can streamline it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. What is
More efficient, like
wormwood?
more efficient. What's that?
What's Bernard
Oh,
saying a remote view wormwood? I don't know what that is. What is that like
that's
a?
that's the meteor that's supposed to come here and crash, that a lot of people right now think is Apophis. And what's really interesting is one of the other blind targets I've given you that we're going to be talking about is the black satellite. And the black satellite and their other near Earth objects that I had
I
mentioned
remember
before.
hearing that. I
Yeah.
remember hearing
Did
that
you?
one. I did.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. And the other, and I think it was on the other show I was on with Midwest Nitrous a couple nights ago. I mentioned the near Earth objects. It was at your show.
Yep.
Anyway, there's the objects that people should look at. 3,000 SG 344. Okay, that's a very near Earth object, very mysterious. Another one is VG 1991 or 1991 VG. That's another near Earth object. Um, God, I forgot the other one. I want to see the other one is HC 401, and the black satellite would be the other one. But those near Earth objects that are almost within orbit of the Earth, close to the moon, some of those, they need to be looked at. And when dealing with Apophis and the things that would hit the Earth, we've got that. There's that. It's an app now, but there's that website. You can actually download that software, and you can look for meteors coming to Earth all the time. They scan all the time. And again, when dealing with these satellites, like the satellite Rex, Osirius Rex, that is going to these asteroids and collecting samples and bringing them back to Earth, people need to really be aware of that. Why are they choosing these certain asteroids? Under microscopic analysis, these things appear to be almost from something that's like a pico civilization. Looks to be machinery. Is that why they're sending those things there? Because they're ancient spacecraft, ancient technology? I mean, seriously, and I've said this before, I don't want to keep repeating myself. That Osiris Rex they've got in the Smithsonian, that piece is like anybody can go up and take a picture of it. And people should do that before they switch it out for something else. And then start seeing, like, really, what can you get those things scanned? What can you get on there? And that goes along with that piece of moon rock that's sitting in Biden's office right now. Under the electron microscope, it looks very odd. You've got some scientists talking about it. It looks like machinery. And again, food for thought, but I think this stuff needs to come out and just kind of quote that in there with wormwood, because everything that comes into the solar system, we almost think is particularly wormwood. Like, for example, one we just did, another target I gave you, which involved Hale Bopp. Hale Bopp came out of nowhere, and they were saying that Robert Morning Sky, and other people thought it was the blue Kachina, and the red Kachina was to come with the Earth cataclysms next. So, again, these are just things to be aware of. What is the living library that was sent out from this planet when it was still a type 1, type 2 civilization? Sent out, like, think of that movie, Star Trek, the original motion picture. That thing came back with all that information. It turned out to be Voyager. They kept calling it Voyager. But in reality, something like that has been sent out before to amass information when it comes back. Are these the near-Earth objects we're looking at? Things like comet sighting comes to the solar system. Oumuamua. These things, just pay attention is all I'm saying.
Well,
More
it's
food
not
for
just,
thought.
it is, and it's not just us that needs to be paying attention. I've heard. Okay, I don't know how to word this, but I have like secondhand knowledge that all the big corporations. I don't know about all of them, but I know at least one or two, like big, gigantic corporations. They have people on payroll that are actually watching the skies for things like you're talking about. Okay, I'm not going to say how I know, but I just know that they have people on staff watching the skies at all times for these things.
Because if you look at that equipment, you'll find near-Earth objects zoom by us all the time. We don't hear about it.
That's right.
We get, heck, we've got an astrofield within the solar system around Pluto, and we know from our remote viewing that I've given you the early targets that there are bases on some of those planets that are outside of some of those planetoids that are out. Trans-Neptunian objects that are outside of Pluto. Two of them, there's bases on there. Observing Earth, the ticking time bomb. Isn't that information you got?
Ticking time, that's right. Well, I think that, okay, so now that we're talking about this, the audience does seem interested in the Black Knight satellite. That is something that I did remote view already. And I actually thought about combining that with whatever was in the ocean, but I really wanted to talk about the Dogman tonight too. So I think that the Black Knight satellite will be a great topic for a near future show, maybe next week or something. We can go over that, and maybe we'll do another target with it to go over it, because I think this is very relevant and very important to put out to the public right now, is whatever these things are. So I don't know. I think
I know you're feeling it just like me. I want to go over that Black Knight back right now, bad, but we won't do it. But I'm feeling it.
What, you want to do it right now?
Kind of.
You want to talk about it?
Kind of.
But
if you want to do a separate show on it, I want to blow your plans.
We can do it now. I mean, we can talk about it now. We don't have to do a whole show on it. I only have a couple of pages of data on it.
Are there enough people that would care? Should we do it?
We have 212 in the watching live right now. We might as well.
Let's do it then. Let's do it.
Does the audience want to know what I have to say?
You really knocked that one out of the ballpark. I'll say that first off. And it was
Let's
blind.
do it,
she didn't know what she was looking at. So the blind, the black satellite.
Okay,
hopefully everybody knows what it is, I'm sure.
So this is not in the title of the show, so nobody knew we're doing this tonight, but I did remote view the Black Knight satellite. So this is a bonus. This is a triple header tonight. And I'll add it to the title. I know, right, Barry? This is thanks to Barry Littleton, y'all. This is the Black Knight satellite. We'll go ahead and go over the data, okay? If you want. We don't need a whole show. We have so many targets. Like, we could do targets forever, okay?
What a nice thing to say. Thank you. That's a nice thing. I've been told that before. Thank you. That's a really cool thing to say. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay. Wow. Hey, John. Yes. Okay, this is awesome. I know. But look, Bernard's excited. Hey, Bernard. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. And Addicted to Knowledge 39. Thank you for that super sticker, man. Thank y'all so much for all the support tonight. Okay, so with the Black Knight satellite, I did not know what this was. Okay, of course. And so we've got. So here's the sensory data. This is the Black Knight satellite. Flying, solid, futuristic, ancient, blinking, watching, patrolling. That was my sensory data. Patrolling. I don't even know what the Black Knight satellite is, y'all, but I do. But this is my data. Okay. So for my analytic overlay, and look, I will put this in my Patreon for all of my Patreon members. Okay. So for my analytic overlay for the Black Knight satellite, I do have I wrote block, AI, artificial intelligence, lights lit up. I wrote meteorite and meteor. What I thought I was looking at was a meteor or meteorite. I wrote jam-packed with info, like information, on patrol, surveillance. I wrote atmosphere, watchers, and galactic AI surveillance is what I wrote down. And that's yeah.
The audience could imagine
There's a
how
little bit more,
thoroughly
but that's the
thrilled
gist.
I am when I'm reading this data. How totally thrilled I am.
Okay. I know we should have just done a whole show on it, but let's just do it. I mean, we're talking about it. Let's get it out there because I think the audience the people need to know whatever this is.
What I believe that the dark satellite is, what I've been told, what I've always picked up on this, is that it is one of these probes. It's like a Pioneer 10 or a Voyager that's from ancient Earth, but you've got civilizations that did it, and it's doing what it did everywhere else, which is observe and orbit and catalog and actually record everything. And in that way, I believe it's doing the same thing that you have several whistleblowers say that the moon does, including, I think Ingo said that too, that there's a machine inside the moon that actually records all activity on Earth. So, I mean, in that way, that's this Black Knight is. And something I want to throw in there too, is that when we first started doing anything remote viewing, we did something with Tanya, how do you say it?
Tanya Braddock.
Yeah, really cool. And both of you were looking at the pyramid in Alaska, I think it was, and you both kept describing this type of material on it to make it nearly invisible sometimes and absorb light. And it is the same thing, very similar to what our science is now calling Vanta Black, and there's Vanta Black 2, Vanta Black. I've done videos over that, but they're on Patreon only. But anyway, it's a material that absorbs light like no other material mankind has made yet. And it's something similar to that. I have memories of a past life of there being dark magic being done in black pyramids that were put on certain grids and had a type of metamaterial on them that made them invisible at points. So we start dealing with these different type of metamaterials. And I've said before how metamaterials is one thing that is involved in the construction of the ships I've been on board. You've got metamaterials that are metals that are mined on planets devoid of Van Allen belts and some of atmospheres. They get bombarded by solar radiation unknown, makes those metals very, very hard, very different. And then you've got quasi crystals, which actually is looking into 3D printed quasi crystals and the odd structure they have. That's a part of this compound. You've got DNA from the crew. Okay. And then you've got some type of a mycelium fungal component. All these come together are grown over one of these makos or a mini black hole. So it's a whole other thing going on there. So, that and descent and that space organisms, living organisms. Anyway, sorry, but getting back to the black satellite, you're dealing with something like that, like a Voyager or a Pioneer 2, way more advanced and went out doing what it's doing. It's come back. And I think that it's observing us doing that now, maybe waiting for us to become almost like a type 1 civilization like 2001, and maybe we'll make contact or do something. Because I don't think it's really extraterrestrials controlling it as much as like a type of federation that was once here present on Earth that we're cut out of now,
Yeah.
And everything you've picking up is kind of confirming that. And I've heard others saying that too. If you look into Kemetic knowledge and what some of the Kemetic people are saying concerning the black satellite, it's similar to what I just told you. Okay, so it's, again, food for thought. But I think you did a really good job remote viewing that. I was somewhat stunned yet again, but hey, it is what it is, right?
I mean, it sounds like it's 100% on target, like 100%. This is wild. It blows my mind, honestly. It really does blow my mind. That's why I figured we could do like a whole show on this, but it's better just to get it out now since we're talking about it. And, we can always bring this back up with another target one day. But yeah, AI galactic surveillance, 100%.
That takes nothing. Last time you used the word galactic on me and data, I'd accept that. You was talking about the Galactic Federation. I said, "Oh no!" But it's but I had to accept the data, and it was a very positive thing. And that was when we were. I gave you the blind target of the aerial children the school children.
Aerial school.
Oh, the
Yeah.
UFO. Yeah, yeah.
In
That was, you
Zimbabwe.
didn't know what that was either. And, it's so interesting because I've heard several things. That one is some of them got older. That, those kids are like, I'm friends with one of them on Facebook. She communicates with me sometime. She's the one that was talking, was kind of tripped out, the young sister. And she's not a kid anymore. She's sending me some pictures of her grandkids, so it's not. And I was asking her, I said, I'd heard that several of you now don't remember seeing like some type of a gray being as much as you do remember seeing these orbs. And there were some people, I believe, hold on. Oh, yes, of course. That one guy, Ed Dames, he remote viewed him too. And I want to see what you got compared to his stuff. That's like way back when, just after it happened, after Dr. Mack was interviewing those kids. But the remote viewers saw these kids just standing there in a trance and these orbs circling them. And when dealing with this orb technology, like what's out at the Assetti Ranch, there's that thing in that device inside Mount Adams called an OR station. If you want to know what that is, look in this book by J.J. Hertock, The Keys of Enoch, and go in there and look up OR station in the index, and then go look at it. Look at the pictures, the Merkaba's they drew for this thing. Exactly what I saw under hypnosis when I had to see what happened to me and what John Vivinko's team saw inside that mountain. And there's a video on YouTube called Remote Viewing the Ancient Aliens of the Assetti Ranch. Check that out. It's from his remote hemispheric remote viewing company. But they talk about they all put that OR station in it. They saw it like I saw it. And what that station does is actually, when you're out on that property, it scans your energy field, your soul life memories, this life. And then let's say, like me, you never seen a Bigfoot. And it produces an orb technology that can be the size of microscopic, but it gets in your biofield and it does something to push your perception forward. All of a sudden you're seeing a Bigfoot walking through the field out there, and it just disappeared. Kind of
like that Dogman. Kind of like the Dogman in Florida.
Yeah. A lot of people seeing things disappearing out there, and you see orbs floating around out there like it's nothing. I said before, I don't know if she's in the chat, but Kira, she sent a bunch of pictures of those orbs out there, and some of them you can look, you see like there's beings or something in there. You can see it, So it's this common thing. And one last thing, there's this pineal gland exercise. Somebody was asking last time. It's by Dr. B.S. Thind, Thind, and what it is a pranayama Kriya yoga breath that involves putting your. It looks bizarre, but it's the most dynamite pineal gland exercise I've ever done. And since in 2018, when I went out there to speak, 2017, I was invited to speak, everyone that was a presenter had to do a Skywatch. You had to lead a Skywatch. Barry Littleton has very little interest in that because, it's cool to call the ships in, all that. Hey, let them come too close and let you lose 4 or 5 hours of your life.
Yeah.
And you're seeing stuff, you had an encounter. It messes with your life. So be careful when you don't even know who you're calling in. You don't know who's on board those things. So just one of those things, I'll say. Anyway, since I noticed everybody in the community seemed to be judging the people that lead Skywatch. If you lead a Skywatch and you don't get a bunch of ships, you must not even be a real contactee. I was listening to stuff like that. James Gilliard and Dr. Greer had some sort of problem in contacting the desert. And Gillian was out there saying, hey, we get Greer out here. They get him to clear the skies. And everybody's laughing. I said, oh, that's what everybody's judging. When I told him I got 30 of them, I was, everybody's judging by how many ships you get. So I thought I'd do the pineal gland exercise so I could get the advantage, Joe. You know what I mean? But when I get done, I had to get the testicular fortitude to actually show it. Like I can't hardly show it right now either, okay? It looks ridiculous, but it's bad AWS. Anyway, so when we get done with that, you've got so many, you've been to these conferences, what's cool in the audience is you've got so many mediums, contactees, psychics that are attendees that they have all sorts of gifts. That's why you better not be somebody getting up there lying about your experiences. You're going to have a bunch of them that are going to know. And you might have the beings might tell on you too. Anyway, so after this, I had seriously, probably 10 people or more going, I'm seeing this grid. It looks like a tic-tac-toe grid.
Oh my God,
They're all
Barry, you're
standing.
calling folks out tonight. Look at you.
What? No. I'm just saying this.
Barry,
Well, I don't owe anybody nothing. You know what? I don't owe anybody nothing, and I believe truth. I believe in truth and honesty. Okay, I don't
Me
care.
too.
I've seen too many people in these communities. Everybody looking up to them, and they're not good people. They'll screw you over and beat you anyway, anyhow they can. But they'll peace and love and light, brother. But they're sorry as hell, man. Anyway, going on to this, going back to this grid. They're all seeing this grid, okay? And I knew what this was that ore station inside Mount Adams that's actually scanning people's energy field. You know, their soul life memories. I mean, so what I'm telling you was not just backed up by myself experiencing, John seeing it, the remote viewing team, but also in this book. It's worth looking at what I just said and looking at the illustration. If you're my friend on Facebook, go to search in Barry Littleton and OR station, and the picture will come up that's in this book. I put it up there a couple of times along with the definition. Definition of what the OR station actually is. It's very fascinating and worth checking out. Food for thought, keys, whatever you want to call it.
We've actually talked about OR stations, and I think I've remote viewed something like that before in the past, a long time ago.
Yeah, I gave you that as a blind target, and you nailed it. You really nailed that one.
I actually drew it as my sketch. So I love it. Yeah, I drew a part of it at least. Yeah. MPW, thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate that so much. Cool. Thank you. Yes. Gosh, we have so many people in here still. Yes,
I have a question. Out of the targets you and I have done together, which one do you think was the coolest or the neatest?
All of them, really. I mean, honestly, I think it's cool going off planet. So I really like the TRAPPIST-1 star system. I think that was really important. I think that's a really important one. It was a really cool one because I thought I was remote viewing Earth in the future. So I thought that still blows my mind. Okay, but I think all of the targets. I think the Chupacabra was one of my favorites. That was definitely one of my favorites. And I don't know. There's so many, but those are the two that stick out.
Blew me away. My favorite might be the crop circles.
Oh yeah,
the crop circle energy plasma balls. Yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, I saw somebody asking a question about either Planet 9 or something. It was a while ago. I just saw it. When you look at the gravitational perturbance of our solar system, I'm not a huge fan of Planet 9 that it exists, and people start telling me, but it's a ship that just comes in every now and again. Okay, maybe, I don't know, but time will tell, because you've got all these objects out in the Oort cloud out there outside of Pluto. You know, when I was having these experiences, I was in the 6th grade, and I'm on this craft, this beings there. First, let's just keep it 100%. All right, when you're really somewhere that's not home, you're on one of these craft, and you've got beings there that are in your mind. Okay, you're not breathing right, the air, you're dizzy, all these things. And besides that, you're looking at technology that is beyond you to have a frame of reference for, outside of something like TV science fiction. And even that is pushing it a bit. You know what I mean? So when doing that, it makes let's just say it's hard. And then on the same token, I don't know, I can speak for anybody in there. People say, you never have no fear on nothing. I have self-preservation. And you may be picking up a love vibration, and I'm getting overwhelmed telepathically by these beings, but I ask who they are, what they want. What if they're tricksters? What if I'm getting, tricked? Got to make sure.
That's always the question. What if we're getting tricked? Hey, Jeff. Yeah. What if we are being tricked in so many ways, and we're not being told the full truth on anything. So we have to find it ourselves to the best of our ability. And that's why we're all here tonight. We're just looking for answers. And do we have all the answers? No. Okay. Do we leave you with more questions than answers? Probably. Okay. But at the same time, we're just exploring these things. And Barry and I do not claim to have all the answers. As a matter of fact, we don't. We just have data, right, Barry?
I don't have many answers at all, but I got a bunch of questions.
Right?
But you know what's cool? you can pull this Houdini thing online and look like you're real smart and answer everything. But in reality, people meet me in person, they're gonna be upset. They ask me a question, I'll be like, "How are we doing in the '80s, man?" Doy, dirt. I won't know. I won't be able to answer your question. I mean, that guy sucks, man. In cyberspace, everybody looks like a genius.
Yeah, this is a good point too from Rocky Mountain Skywatcher. Just now understanding information from 30 years ago. Yeah, me too. It's like you go back and even like you watch movies and stuff like The Matrix. I had Tom Althouse on my show at Spaced Out Radio a couple of weeks ago, and I had not watched The Matrix for years. And I went back and watched The Matrix again, and I completely understood it for the first time. I felt like I was living in The Matrix as I was watching it. I was like, this is real life. This is my life. Okay. But I didn't have that understanding back then when I watched it for the first time.
I got a question. Okay. What did he say about Sophia Stewart? I was on an interview with Sophia Stewart like probably 5-6 years ago, and she was talking about having these novels that were The Terminator and The Matrix, and that James Cameron stole them from her, and she was suing. So I was wondering, how does this? Who? I mean, it's Hollywood, so it's hard to tell. Everybody sues everybody, right? But I was just wondering, did you ask him about that? Or
no,
did they work together?
I didn't know a whole lot about that, so I don't know who she is. But I just heard that someone had The Matrix taken from them, and I assumed it was only him. Okay, I didn't realize there were like multiple people saying this. So no.
There's like the latest Matrix. Her name is on that one, like the last one that came out. Her name's on that. She has something to do with that one too. And she's the one when I was kind of sitting in the interview. I was just kind of co-hosting it, but I was really more interested. And I'd asked something, and she had said that she said, "Well, I've already said this on the show, so I'm gonna say, I gotta say it again because it kind of blew me away." She said, that Neo is John Connor. And you have to look at it in terms of the Terminator shows how they took us on the outside in the war, but that isn't what they did in cyberspace. The Matrix shows how they took us in cyberspace. And I thought that was really pretty. I mean, it kind of one of those things just goes ding, ding, like, whoa, that kind of makes sense. So I don't know. I was just curious. I don't know. It's interesting,
Yeah. It's really cool how they're all connected.
The Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles only won like one season. That was a great show. And I thought about you when there's a part where one of the Terminators gets like blown apart. Its head gets separated. And in the future, the head activates the body in the junkyard, and the body comes and gets the head and then goes and gets a bunch of blood and goes to the person that was starting to learn to make protoplasm, so he could get another skin around his body, another flesh, so he could mask himself. It was just so interesting. And what's interesting is he comes out of this. One thing is this, Jones. So okay, here I go, geeks. I probably lose viewers on this. But if anybody goes to the YouTube and look up that show and look up Cromartie gets another body, you don't see this. There's like this scientist that's working this protoplasm walks in, and he's got all these equations on the board. And they're like real equations for this stuff. And the robot, the Terminator, has completed it. And he's looking at him, can you do it? And the cat said, I need a bunch of blood for this. He's like, I brought my own. He had just robbed the blood bank. And he fills this thing. Anyway, they fill this thing up. The robot shows what it is, this metal thing, and it gets in there. And when it comes back out, it's got this flesh all over it. And it looks almost like it's neonatal. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. Okay. The scientist gets up on it and cuts the slits in its eyes, and its eyes open up, and it's just those red eyes glowing. And the music goes, doo, and you hear the woman go, now we're all sons of bitches. But the point being, no, that it's something she was quoting. But the point being, when that happens, I kept getting flashes of Gugwe.
Gugwe?
The mutant red eyes? They have red eyes like that, don't they? I think they're cyborgs or something. They're supposed to discredit. We've done shows on that too, so I won't go back into that.
That's a whole other like rabbit hole to go down for sure. Some of the cryptids could be cyborgs too. I mean, who knows? That's interesting. Wow, everything is so connected though, right?
I think Green Eyes is some sort of cyborg. The way you
Old
describe
Green is a intergalactic body part trader, according to my data.
following the green smog of Yellowstone, right?
Ooh, yeah.
When the
Actually,
green,
that's Gugway. Those are Gugway in the fog at Yellowstone, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
We've done
yeah.
shows on all this, y'all. So y'all just go to the playlist on the remote
That's
viewing
right.
show. You'll find all of these.
I
Everything that
got my
Bigfoot
negative
is saying.
instincts mixed up. I got my negative Bigfoot mixed up.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, in everything that we're talking about when he's referring to any of the remote viewing targets that I've done, we've done shows on these already. So you guys just go to the playlist on my YouTube channel and you'll find the shows there. We have done so many shows together, Barry. It's really a treat. It really
Yeah,
is. People talk about binge watching my shows all the time. I'm like, thanks.
that's cool. That's cool. And I've had a few people from your audience tell me they've been binging on my channel too. That really it's really cool. I know my videos are short, but there's a bunch of them, and it's just to trigger people to do their own stuff. The words are there, the images, and people discover their own truth. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. And you're doing that, I think, for a lot of people, and with a lot of different people. You don't just work with me. You're doing a huge body of work. So that's pretty neat.
Man, well, we're doing this all together, but we're doing it for the good, the betterment of humanity here. Okay, we're doing it because we love it, and it's fun. We make it fun, though, don't we? I think we make it fun.
Definitely. Oh, you're fun. You're fun. I apologize. I didn't look at the chat. By the way, every time you talk to somebody, you said you had a friend that you was like you've known since childhood. Hey, did he know the Big Boss Man too?
The Big Boss Man. Oh my gosh.
Did he?
Oh my gosh. Who are you talking about?
I said your friend. You said he known since childhood. Did he know the Big Boss Man too? That's one of your favorite stories. That's one of your favorite stories. Is you, the Big Boss Man, the wrestler. That's a great story.
I was kidding. When I said childhood, I meant like our 20s. Okay, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, I was kidding. Yeah. That's Peter.
Oh,
he's from
Hot
the same county though. Yeah. I was kidding. I was being facetious. I was. Yeah.
He really was a prison guard.
I don't know. I have no idea what he did. I just know he was good friends with my uncle. Okay, and so we used to play G.I. Joes together when I was a kid. The Big Boss Man.
There is G.I. Joes. There's a story in there.
Yeah. There's a story. There's always a story, Barry. There's always a story. There is.
Who's else hanging out? Was it Ice-T you was hanging out with? Was it the DOC, Big Daddy Kane? Oh, Jessica Jones.
No.
Which rapper was it? You do a bunch of them.
I know it's going left. So yeah.
Run DMC, rock the bells. Anyway.
Oh my God. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Let's just say I've had a very interesting life. Okay, I've had a very interesting, fun life so far, and I've got a whole life ahead of me too. So yeah, it's very interesting. So.
We got that in common. I knew a famous wrestler too. He went to my college. The Big Show is his name. Paul White. He went to my school. We used to hang out every now and again. And he wasn't as big as he is now as far as weight, but he's about 7'2". That's not a joke. He's a tall cat, and his hands look like, man, my God. Last time I had seen him, I was young. I was like 20. I was getting this. I had a bottle of 40 ounce in my hand of Occult 45, Billy D. Williams. That tells you how long ago that was. I was drinking because Billy D. Williams was cool. Anyway, but he said, "Man, didn't you see me?" And I said, "No, he's driving the liquor truck." And he reached over and he said, "You're too worried about this, B." And he swapped this 40 out of my hand. And I swear to you, it looked like a bottle of beer in my hand. And my other friend was there. His name's Paul too. I introduced him. We got outside. My friend Paul said, "B, that's the biggest dude I've ever seen. You see his fingers look like sausages." Yeah, that's Big Paul.
Oh my gosh. Yes, we have gone off the rails here towards the end because we've gone over 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours tonight, Barry. This has gone. I mean, it feels like we just started the show personally. It's just time flies when you're having fun. And when you end up talking about 40s, what is it? The 8-ball of OE? That's what they call that. Yeah, we're not gonna. We got to end the show on something else other than that, okay? Because it's really fun. Dennis Carroll's in the chat. Hey, Dennis. Dennis said that he mentioned the Undertaker. The Undertaker would be your favorite, Dennis. I bet.
Oh,
I love that.
man,
I love
that
it.
guy's giving some great interviews now that he's retired. Hey, Dennis, something I want to say. We'll give him much credit. I appreciated the show you did the other night with Jessica. We just talked about that. And also, I like your post, but he brought up something that I try to keep abreast of melanin-dominant cryptids and extraterrestrials. But he posted something called the Black Imps. And it's something I'd never heard before, and it was fascinating. Next time you guys are together, will you please talk about that?
Yes, I will. Maybe we'll do a show on it for sure. I'm sure Dennis will do it on his channel too. He's got a great channel, Hunting the Shadows. So, yeah, we'll talk about
it. I don't have a link to this channel. Send me a link. Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you a link. Oh, and someone, I think Steve in the chat was wondering if you have your PayPal handle, your information. There are people that would like to send you some donations as well, Barry. So if you have that, we can put it down in the description box after the show, or whatever. We can put it in the chat, or you can put it in the chat if you want, Barry. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Perfect. Yeah, we need to start doing that. That'd be amazing. Yeah, you guys, Barry, this has been awesome. What a great show tonight. And I mean, we did 3 targets, some very important targets tonight on this show. So, man, we knocked it out the park tonight, I think.
The last couple we've done, I feel like we addressed a lot of different things, and I think that's important. And that's probably there's a large part of the people that like that. They don't like the cookie cutter stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. I think so too. I agree. We ain't no cookie cutters over here. We ain't scared. We go we go down the rabbit holes over here, and we go down the rabbit portals on the Cryptid Hunters channel.
Cool name. I like that name. That's a cool name.
Wizard Moon. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool name. I like that.
Man, we have such a wonderful, we still have a big crowd right now. I love this, you guys. Thank y'all so much for sticking with us all night. It's been almost 2.5 hours since we've been going.
It doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't feel like it one bit. It doesn't. And so everybody, you guys are just, y'all are troopers tonight, and I appreciate it very much. I want to thank everybody for being here. I hope that we answered some questions, that everybody learned something tonight. And I just want to say thank you to everybody individually. There's so many people I can't, but I want to say thank you to everybody who sent in donations and put super stickers and things in. You guys are the best, everybody. And all my Patreon members, all the Barry's Patreon members, thank y'all for being here. And my channel members too. I know I got channel members here. So if you guys would like to join the channel, I do put exclusive content up. Just hit the join button on the main page here at YouTube. And all of my shows are on podcast platforms as well. So you can listen to us in the car, in your earbuds all day at work. Okay. But yeah, well, Barry, where can people find you? Can you tell the audience where to find you on your YouTube channel and your Patreon?
On a black hole, probably. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm on YouTube and on Patreon under Barry Littleton. I do a lot of stuff on YouTube. A lot of stuff on Patreon I never put on YouTube, but those are the platforms I'm on. Also, excuse me, I'm on Facebook also. I try to communicate with people on there. I can't get with all the private messages all the time, but I try to respond a little bit and just put up stuff that's like, whatever, informational or cool pictures or something that just makes a day better, So, my website is barrylittleton.com. I don't do much of stuff on there, but it's got links to my other stuff. My email is barrylittleton1313.com or at gmail.com.
13. I'm typing it in as you talk. Hope I spelled all that right. All right, barrylittleton13 at gmail.com. And you offer services as well. So for people, healing services, hypnotherapy, regressive therapy sessions and things like that, right?
Yeah, I do counseling, readings, and also hypnosis. I do past life regressions, extraterrestrial regressions, trauma removal, earthbound spirit release, do a lot of those. Also weight loss and anti-smoking.
Anti-smoking. Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
Still do a lot of those ones, but
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. I love the services you provide. And I love the fact that you come over here and you shoot the with me for hours on end. over here with these targets. So thank you for being here. Yeah. I mean, okay, so tonight, in conclusion, tonight, we covered 3 major remote viewing targets, from the Fort Pierce, Florida Dogman, okay, to the ocean anomaly out of Antarctica, and also the Black Knight satellite tonight. That was a hidden bonus that I didn't even know we were going to talk about tonight. So I hope everybody enjoyed it. Please join my Patreon if you'd like to see the full data over there. That's the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. Enjoying Barry's Patreon as well, y'all. All right. Well, Barry, this is another one for the history books.
That was a good one. Thank you. Thank you to the audience for not booing me out of here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all for being here, and please come back and see me Saturday night. I have a couple of different ideas for my show Saturday, and so I'll be back Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, and then I'll be at Spaced Out Radio Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern as well. So, man, I'm busy. I love it. Okay, so y'all come back and see me. Everybody have a wonderful night. Y'all stay safe out there, and lock your doors. Be aware of your surroundings, and just love everybody. Okay, and I hope everybody's happy. Y'all have a great night. See you, Barry. We'll see you next time.
Sure.